My target audience is the secondary students that I teach for. So as I hang out on campus and observe student interaction, I thought it'd be best to share a story with you guys from a time that I was in high school. It was in the fall of my junior year. Two of my friends and I were just leaving the parking lot of the football game. We didn't have anything to do, but we also didn't want our night to be over. Our best friend Alex was the quarterback on the team, and he had just had the worst game of his career, and it happened to end their season in the playoffs. The three of us knew that none of the guys on the team were going to be in the mood to hang out. So we pulled into the Rouse parking lot to mulled over our options. After a few failed phone calls, James had a brilliant idea. He told us, and Quincy and I shook our head. We didn't agree, but we also didn't disagree. James went into the store and he came out. He had the eggs. I knew that egging was incredibly stupid. In fact, a couple years earlier, my family had been egged a couple of times. I knew the pain of cleaning it up, and I also saw the damage that it could do. TP and water balloons were fair game in my opinion. My friends enjoyed doing that, but when it came to egging, that was crossing the line with vandalism. We acted foolishly that night, and as if egging wasn't bad enough, uh, our decision making only got worse after that. We found it oddly funny to drive by our best friend Alex, who just had a terrible game, and throw eggs at his garage. Talk about kicking a man while he's down. Then we drove up my street. My family lived on a hill with about 40 houses, and we were close with one family on that street. So what do? We throw eggs at the car of the neighbor who we knew. Again, genius. When we finished and got to my house, we went to my room and started asking each other what the heck we were doing. The Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson says there's a king in every crowd, talking about leadership. On that night, if there was leadership, it certainly wasn't positive. The next morning, my dad woke up and he walked outside where he saw our friend's car was egged. He had heard us walk in the previous night laughing, and so he stormed into my room and woke us up. He was hot, and he warned me of the consequences if he found out that it was us. Eventually, Mr. Flores walked up to our house and asked if we did it. My buddies took the fall, knowing that I would be in so much trouble if I took the blame for it, and so they fell on the sword. And Mr. Flores eventually asked me too if I had done it, and I said that I was in a different car. I just lied to him. As the morning went on, I became overwhelmed with guilt. Finally, I confessed to my dad that I did it, and as a result, he made me walk down to Mr. Flores' house and not only confess my part in the egging, but also now confess that I had lied to him to his face. In summary, I got a tongue lashing from Mr. Flores, but it felt good to get that over with. Anyway, fast forward a year to the next summer, where I committed my life to Christ at a summer church camp. I'd been calling myself a Christian for so long, but realized there was no fruit. My best friends certainly weren't helping. I knew that if I was to be serious about pursuing after God, that would mean distancing myself from these friends that I had had since I moved to California. 1 Corinthians 15:33, you guys know it, says, bad company corrupts good morals. I said all this up to say that some of you know right from wrong. I see it. I see it on campus. But you're afraid to call out a friend. This comes from a fear of looking uncool or even having a fear of being made an outcast altogether. But the reality is that many of you may need to evaluate your friends. You need to consider your friends, knowing that you become like those that you spend the most time with. Are they a good influence? Do they encourage you in your walk with God? If you constantly feel pressured to do the wrong thing for the sake of looking cool, I urge you to ask yourself whether that's a friend worth keeping. Desire your walk with God more than your relationships with others and trust that God will bless you for it. At the same time, take the lead and keep your friends accountable. Finally, there is something to learn from the lying that took place in this story. Sin is dangerous if we understand what it is. It's a poison. It separates us from God. Allowing that allowing for that lie to lie in the body long enough is dangerous. The longer you wait, the more you will become entangled in sin. It's bondage, and it binds a man to the devil as his slave. Not just lying, but all sin. Kill it quickly. Draw near to Christ. That's my plea for you guys. Fear God more than you fear man. For some of you, that may be distancing yourself from friends. While I know that's hard, know that God blesses those who obey Him. I really want you guys to think about that as you leave here today.